Mary J. Blige.
Absolutely.
Like
That's
I'm
enough.
me. Like I would never say I envy Beyonce's life or any other artist's
Yeah.
female art. People are stupid.
The queen of hip-hop and soul, Mary J. Blige, is set to take center stage alongside other iconic hip-hop and rap artists in the Super Bowl halftime show. Not only is she an amazing songstress though, but she's also a very decorated actor. Her recognitions span 9 Grammys, 4 AMAs, and she's been nominated for 3 Golden Globe Awards and 2 Academy Awards. Aside from her extremely decorated career, her personal life is largely private. Unlike the other actors she's sharing the halftime stage with, Mary has kept mostly to herself, especially as she's gracefully aged. She's completely sober after a bout with substance use and grew out of a rather difficult childhood into the empowered, multi-talented woman we know today. Today we're covering soul icon Mary J. Blige. Tomorrow though, you decide. I'd love to hear who you'd like to see us cover on the next episode of Where Are They Now? And please like this video for more content just like it. Let's get into the life of Mary J. Blige, shall we? Mary was born in New York City in the Bronx before she was moved to Savannah, Georgia when she was young. When Mary was only a few years old, her father left the family, and so she and her 3 other siblings survived on just her mother's nursing job. After a short stint in Georgia, the family moved back to New York City and lived in a housing project. Although she saw her father periodically throughout her life, he suffered from PTSD because he was a Vietnam War veteran and struggled with substance use. Mary's life, from what we can gather, was filled with violence, and she struggled to grow up in a healthy environment. In later interviews, Mary describes witnessing aggression towards women in particular. Eventually, the aggression was turned towards her through sexual harm from a close family friend. In a VH1 interview, she stated, quote, "The shame of thinking it was my fault. It led me to believe I wasn't worth anything." As a teenager, Mary dropped out of high school and sold her body to sustain her substance use. "I ended up becoming my environment," she had later stated. Then everything changed on the day that Blige decided to go to the mall. As a teenager, she was shopping for clothes when there was a little karaoke booth. She went up and sang a cover of an Anita Barker song. Blige's mom's boyfriend at the time was recording the cover, and he was so impressed by the 17-year-old's talent that he sent the recording to Uptown Records. Well, it must have worked because Uptown Records got into contact with the young songstress, and she became the first female artist and the youngest artist ever to sign with the label. Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, personally guided her to stardom and placed her as a backup singer to make a living while she created her very first album, What's the 411, which was released in 1992. As Mary rose to fame, her albums became pieces about the different stages in her life. While Mary was relatively private and had stayed out of trouble in her adult life, you can really see her path and her hardships throughout her soulful and passionate tracks. Throughout the course of her 8 multi-platinum studio albums, she's titled albums as No More Drama, indicating a need to move on with her life, and The Breakthrough being, quote, "I was sick and tired of being sad and depressed and hating myself. I just needed a breakthrough in this healing." In 2003, Blige married her manager at the time, Martin Isaacs. They seemed absolutely inseparable, and their marriage lasted until 2016. The 12-year relationship ended when she discovered he'd been cheating on her. The only way she found out was when she questioned a more than $420,000 charge, which turned out to be travel expenses for both her husband and his girlfriend. It took them 2 years to finalize their divorce, and during this time, her estranged husband was apparently hospitalized due to the stress of a public breakup. During the divorce hearings that followed, Mary accused him of using the hospitalization as a way to get more money out of his wife, which luckily he didn't. Since her divorce, Mary has been focusing on building herself up in a way that doesn't rely on men. In an interview after her divorce was finalized, the soul singer opened up about the feelings of loneliness and isolation since her split. Quote, "It gets lonely and it gets sad, but you know, I just gotta thug this out until something excellent comes along. I'm not going to deprive myself of living, and I'm not going to deprive myself of romance if it ever shows up." And that's the beauty of it. She's open to love but won't destroy herself if it doesn't come, signaling true maturity from a woman who is able to love herself whether she's with a man or not. While her musical career is what she's best known for, Mary is also very decorated for her acting skills, beginning her on-screen journey in 1998 with an appearance as a preacher's daughter on an episode of The Jamie Foxx Show. Then she began transitioning into the film world with the indie drama Prison Song before she went back to television with appearances on Entourage, 30 Rock, Empire, Umbrella Academy, and Blackish. In 2017, she played a larger role in the Netflix movie Mudbound, a very dramatic pivot from her lighter work. Her work in this role earned her 2 nominations for Academy Awards in Best Supporting Actress and Best Original Song. Although she didn't win the Oscar, it really showed how multi-talented she was to be able to dominate both the music and movie industry at the same time. Mary's love for the movie industry doesn't end with acting though. In 2019, she established a production company called Blue Butterfly that partnered for a television deal with Lionsgate. In late 2020, she teamed up with 50 Cent to create a sitcom-style television show that centered on an R&B singer whose bachelor lifestyle gets flipped upside down when he is unexpectedly thrown into fatherhood and has to raise his sister's 4 musically gifted kids. Using their advanced knowledge of the music industry, 50 Cent and Mary J. Blige combined their brainpower to create a family-friendly program that did really well for both parties. And under the guidance of her own production company, her entrepreneurial skills have allowed her to create successful television that's completely separate from her initial singing career. In 2021, Mary was also the subject of her own documentary called Mary J. Blige's My Life, based loosely on the album of the same name. The documentary explores Mary's troubling history with substance use, depression, and harmful relationships. It shows the star in her younger years as she struggled to get her bearings in a world that was unwilling to provide space for her. Eventually though, as she got older and wiser, she became able to stand on her own without the support of a partner and overcome her personal struggles to become as powerful as she is today. And you can see the transformation in her real life too. Having been sober for decades now, Mary admits that it was one of the toughest things she's ever had to do in her life, but it's all worth it. Not being a mother herself though, Mary is often asked if she'll ever decide to have a baby, to which she usually replies, quote, "Right now it's about me and little Mary. It's like that's my baby girl, my little girl," she says in reference to nurturing her own inner child. It's all about self-love and self-reflection for the soul singer, who is so proud of herself for overcoming a dark moment in her life through which she wasn't entirely sure she was even going to make it out of. And now in 2022, Mary is set to take the stage of the Super Bowl alongside fellow hip-hop and rap artists Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. Having worked alongside many of these artists in the past, it's so amazing to see them come together once more in one of the largest and most watched events in the world. I have no doubt that these artists will dominate the stage and make history in the music world. Dubbed the queen of hip-hop and soul, Mary sets herself apart from the other performers by being credited for her creation of a union between hip-hop and R&B to create a unique flow that only she is able to work with. With only a short time left before the Super Bowl, I'm sure this is going to go down in history as one of the best halftime shows yet. So how do you feel about Mary J. Blige's story? Did any part resonate with you? Let us know in the comments down below. And please don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content just like it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Where Are They Now? I'm your host Sierra. Have a great day.